Aiden Cole never thought betrayal would come wrapped in silk words and soft hands. He had survived corporate backstabbing, public smears, and even the cold disapproval of his own family. But nothing prepared him for the moment he stood alone in his penthouse, watching Callista, the woman he loved, the woman he planned to marry, sit across a rooftop bar, laughing with her friends as they plotted his downfall. Through the hum of the city, their voices cut sharp and clean. If he doesn't beg for you, he was never yours. Aiden felt something inside him rupture, a silent split down the center of his chest. It wasn't just betrayal, it was humiliation. It was realizing the love he'd given freely was being dissected, tested, and played like a game among women who wore friendship like armor, but wielded it like a knife. In that moment, Aiden didn't rage. He didn't break down. He sharpened. And he decided, if they wanted to test him, they would discover a man they never really knew. Before we dive into today's story, take a moment to let us know where you're watching from. We love seeing how our stories bring people together from all over the world. Your comments create a community where storytelling thrives, and we're so grateful to have you here. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a moment. Now, settle in, get comfortable, and prepare for a journey that will keep you hooked from start to finish. Let's get started. Aiden Cole stood at the window of his Tribeca penthouse, the skyline glittering beneath him like a polished lie. From the outside, his life was a masterpiece. 34 years old, a self-made tech billionaire, owner of a fortune carved from late nights, sharp instincts, and a refusal to quit. He had fought for everything, except love. Love, he had once believed, should be the one thing given freely. But now, even that belief was splintering. He swirled the whiskey in his glass, watching the ice crack. Below, the April streets gleamed from an earlier rain, headlights skimming over slick asphalt like fireflies. Across the way, the rooftop bar of the Valmont Private Club glowed gold under fairy lights strung across steel beams. He knew that rooftop well. It was where Callista Vrenna, his girlfriend of nearly 2 years, liked to hold court. Callista. She was 29, magnetic, and dazzling in a way that turned heads on the street and melted phones online. An influencer before the word became hollow, she had built her brand on fashion, curated vulnerability, and the kind of beauty that made people ache. But Aiden knew another side. The late-night laughter, the small freckle under her left eye, the way she hummed when she cooked, even though she never finished a meal. For months, though, something had been off. Their conversations had shortened. Her trips with her friends had lengthened. When she came home, her smile flickered, distracted. He told himself it was stress, growth pains, the pressure of her image. But tonight, watching from his silent fortress as she leaned over a table with Celine Murray, Lysandra Pierce, and Brielle Kane, the so-called queens, Aiden felt his gut harden. He didn't want to spy. He didn't want to listen. But when the night wind shifted, carrying their laughter across the rooftops, he heard it anyway. If he doesn't beg for you, Celine's voice floated clear, he was never yours. Aiden's breath caught. He tilted his head, stepping closer to the glass. Film it, Brielle giggled. The audience will eat it up. Honestly, you've got to know, Cal, Lysandra chimed. If he's all in or not, this is how you'll know. Callista laughed, but it was thin. I don't know, you guys. We've been together 2 years. Celine cut in sharply. That's exactly why. Before you waste more time. And just like that, Aiden felt it. Something inside him tearing, quiet but absolute. Not anger, not yet. First came disbelief. Then the slow, creeping realization that what he thought was sacred was being dissected like a social experiment between cocktails. They were scripting a breakup. He stepped back, his heart hammering hard against his ribs. For a moment, his reflection met his own eyes in the glass, tired, sharp, hollowed out. He saw himself as they saw him, a challenge, a conquest, a man to test, to push, to break down and study. And in that moment, something inside Aiden shifted. He didn't reach for his phone. He didn't text her or storm over or call out. Instead, he took another sip of whiskey and set the glass down, hearing the faint click on the countertop. His mind sharpened, not like a man betrayed, but like a man calculating. If they wanted a test, they were about to meet the real Aiden Cole. Upstairs, the penthouse was dark, except for the soft glow of recessed lighting along the ceiling, the gentle hum of the built-in speakers whispering jazz. Aiden sat at his dining table, laptop open, documents spread in front of him, pretending to review financial reports he'd already memorized. His chest was tight, but his face was calm. He heard the elevator ding, the soft slide of the door, the familiar sound of Callista's heels on polished floors. "Hey, babe," her voice called, light, practiced. "We need to talk." He closed the laptop slowly, looking up with a mix of rehearsed surprise and something heavier. "Oh," he said softly. "Thank God you're home." "Yeah, we do." She blinked, thrown off, but smiled nervously. "Can I go first?" "Of course." She sat across from him, pulling out her phone casually, but he saw the camera app open. She took a breath, hands trembling slightly. "I've been thinking about us," she began, voice cracking just enough for effect. "And I need space. This isn't working anymore." He let the silence stretch between them, eyes fixed on her face. Then, leaning forward, he let out a shuddering breath. "No, please, Cal." His voice dropped, just above a whisper. "You can't do this. Not right now." Her eyes flickered. This wasn't the response she'd prepared for. "I'm sorry, Aiden, but my mind's made up." He reached across the table, grazing her hands, his expression almost desperate. "But who's going to help me with the crypto losses?" he whispered. "The SEC investigation, the offshore accounts." Her mouth parted. "Wait, what?" "I didn't want you to find out like this," he murmured, pressing a hand over his eyes, voice cracking. "It started small, just some leveraged bets. But I kept doubling down, thinking I could recover. Now it's bad, Cal. Real bad." She yanked her hands back. "What are you talking about? Crypto? The SEC? I was using your Netflix login for international trades. If we break up, I lose access." Her face twisted in confusion, panic creeping in. And Aiden watched it, the exact moment the script fell apart. Her fake heartbreak stumbled against his fake collapse, and in the cracks, he saw her true face, bewildered, cornered, exposed. The front door opened suddenly, and Celine, Lysandra, and Brielle rushed in, breathless, phones out, voices sharp. "We heard everything," Celine started. Aiden turned slowly, a thin smile on his lips. "Oh, good. The council's here." Celine froze. Lysandra's mouth opened, but no sound came. Brielle went pale. "I heard you," Aiden said softly, standing. "At the Valmont. Every word. The test, the script, the recording. All of it." Callista's face went bloodless. "There are no crypto losses," Aiden continued, stepping closer. "No SEC investigation. No offshore bets. But the bedbugs in your car? That was me. And the engagement my mother thinks we have." "You might want to call her." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Congratulations," he said quietly. "You played yourself." And in that moment, for the first time, they realized Aiden Cole was never the one on trial. They were. Before we dive into today's story, take a moment to let us know where you're watching from. We love seeing how our stories bring people together from all over the world. Your comments create a community where storytelling thrives, and we're so grateful to have you here. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a moment. Now, settle in, get comfortable, and prepare for a journey that will keep you hooked from start to finish. Let's get started. The morning after, Aiden Cole sat at his kitchen table, fingers steepled beneath his chin, watching the sunlight fracture across the floor. His penthouse was still, the hush after a storm. The night before, Callista's so-called loyalty test had detonated like a grenade. But instead of the emotional wreckage she had prepared for, Aiden had left her and her friends standing in the shambles of their own script. Across the room, his phone vibrated on the marble countertop. He let it buzz. Again. 48 missed calls. 23 new texts. All Callista. Aiden, please, it was just a joke. I was scared you didn't love me enough. Don't do this. Please come home. He closed his eyes and let the silence deepen. When Bella's son arrived at 9, punctual as ever, she didn't need an explanation. As Aiden's assistant for 6 years, Bella had weathered mergers, hostile takeovers, lawsuits, and political mudslinging. But this was personal, and Bella understood the difference. She stepped in quietly, setting her tablet on the table. The media's picked it up. Aiden lifted his gaze. That was fast. Callista posted a crying video this morning. Bella's mouth tightened faintly. She says you blindsided her. Of course she does. Aiden leaned back, exhaustion tightening his shoulders. Let them run with it. Not without a counterstatement. Bella paused, and for the first time, her professional tone softened. We can do this carefully. You don't need to bleed in public, Aiden. He met her eyes, dark, steady, and unexpectedly kind. And for the first time that morning, something inside him eased. Get Marcus here, Aiden murmured. We're going to do this right. Callista Vrenna, meanwhile, was unraveling. Inside her pristine apartment, all cream textiles, designer candles, and staged Instagram corners, she sat cross-legged on the floor, mascara streaked down her cheeks, scrolling endlessly through comment sections. We love you, Cal. Stay strong. Dump his cold billionaire ass. Queen, you deserve better. But between those came newer comments. Darker. Wait, was this the loyalty test thing? Is this about that audio clip circulating? Yikes, not looking good, girl. Her fingers trembled. She flicked to Celine's messages. Celine Moray. Babe, stay offline. It's getting ugly. Also, Harper's not talking to me. We should meet. Urgent. Callista felt her stomach twist. Celine. Always Celine. Too close. Too intense. Too involved. He doesn't love you the way I do. Callista had laughed it off for years. But now, with the mask slipping and the public watching, she wasn't sure where the lines blurred. By midday, Marcus Hale arrived at the penthouse, unrolling a folder of legal documents onto Aiden's dining table. We have options, Marcus said, calm as always. Restraining order for public harassment, asset protection maneuvers in case she moves financially, and if we want, we prepare a custody move. Aiden stiffened. Ethan. She's not his mother, Marcus said carefully. But the media storm could put pressure on your personal image, and we can't risk her dragging him into it. Aiden's jaw tightened. Do it. Bella, seated to the side, watched Aiden with a small knot forming between her brows. She'd known him through scandals and stress, but this was different. This wasn't business. This was heart. Aiden, Bella murmured quietly when Marcus stepped away to take a call. You don't have to burn everything down. He looked at her, and for a moment, the veneer cracked. I trusted her, he whispered, voice raw. I let her into Ethan's life. Bella didn't reach out, didn't comfort. She simply stayed. And that, Aiden realized, was why she was still here. Across town, Celine was unspooling. Her girlfriend Harper had stopped answering calls. Paparazzi had camped outside the wellness studio, and the whispers online were sharpening. Wait, wasn't Celine weirdly possessive of Callista? Didn't she post a love poem last year? Gay best friend or something. More? In the privacy of her high-rise, Celine sent another message to Callista. We need to talk. Not about Aiden. About us. When Callista read it, her skin prickled cold. That night, Aiden sat in Ethan's room, watching his son sleep. His chest ached, not with grief for Callista, but for the memory of what he had let into their home. For the nights Ethan had curled up on the couch, watching Callista pace with her phone, eyes lit by Instagram, attention always divided. He brushed a hand through Ethan's hair, quiet, steady. Downstairs, Bella updated the security settings, flagged PR releases, and managed incoming media requests. When she looked up, she saw Aiden standing in the doorway, tired, but anchored. Tomorrow, Aiden said softly, we fight back. The next morning, Celine's world shattered. Her girlfriend Harper posted a simple statement on Twitter. Imagine finding out your partner loved her best friend, not you. I'm out. Within hours, Celine's fitness sponsors terminated contracts. Brands unfollowed her accounts. Client bookings tanked. At first, Celine tried to deny it, but the dam had broken. Screenshots emerged, old messages, emotional confessions, blurry lines crossed. The internet pounced. The gay twist we didn't see coming. Toxic best friend much? Celine collapsed on her bathroom floor, phone in hand, heart pounding. Callista, seeing it unfold, felt the walls close in. That afternoon, Aiden's team released the counter-statement. Polished, professional, and surgical, it laid out facts without venom. Emotional manipulation. Recorded stunts. Legal boundaries. No comment on Ethan. The media flipped almost overnight. New revelations in Cole-Vrenna breakup. Audio leaks paint darker picture. Sources reveal influencers' private schemes. Callista's sponsorships bled away. Celine was branded a homewrecker without the affair. Lysandra's fiancé, after seeing the headlines, called off their engagement. Brielle was dropped from her latest film. The so-called queens were falling. That night, Callista showed up at Aiden's building. Bella blocked her in the lobby. Please, Callista begged, eyes red, voice shaking. I just need 5 minutes. It's not my call, Bella said softly. But if it was, I'd say no. Upstairs, Aiden watched from the security camera feed. For a moment, he saw the woman he had loved, undone, desperate, lost. Then he turned off the monitor. By midnight, Callista sent her last text. You were never the man I thought you were. Aiden read it once, let it settle, and deleted it. He looked out at the city, at the chaos, the collapse, the noise. Then he heard the softest sound, Ethan's laugh, drifting down the hall as he watched cartoons too late in his room. Aiden smiled faintly. That, he thought, is the only thing worth protecting. Aiden Cole sat in his home office, sunlight cutting across the glass desk, lighting the edge of his laptop. His phone buzzed endlessly nearby, face down, vibrating against the hardwood. Messages poured in. Reporters, investors, friends asking if the tabloids were true, if the headlines were exaggerated, if Callista was really spiraling, if the breakup had been a setup. He leaned back, exhaling slowly, eyes closed for a beat. He hadn't eaten since the day before, but the tight knot in his stomach left no room for food. Across the apartment, he heard Ethan's quiet laughter in his bedroom, playing with his Lego set. That small sound was his anchor. Everything else felt like a storm. Bella stood at the doorway, tablet in hand. Marcus is downstairs. Do you want him up? Aiden opened his eyes. Yes. When Marcus Hale stepped inside, he didn't waste time on small talk. He dropped a leather folder onto Aiden's desk with a faint thud. We've got a bigger problem, Marcus said. Bigger than social fallout or reputation management. Aiden arched an eyebrow. Callista has been consulting with one of the most aggressive divorce attorneys in the city, not last week, months ago. She's been laying groundwork to position herself for a claim on your estate, even though you're not married. She's been meeting with offshore advisors, trying to create financial ties you didn't authorize. Aiden's jaw tightened, fingers folding together. So, it was never just a breakup test. Marcus gave him a level look. No, Aiden, it was a setup, a soft campaign for marriage, prenups, trusts, all meant to lock you in before you realized. Aiden let that sink in. A sharp, cold clarity settled over him. Lock it all down, he said quietly. Already done. Meanwhile, across the city, Callista sat curled on her designer couch, wrapped in a fleece blanket, phone in one hand, a glass of wine in the other. Her Instagram feed was bleeding followers. She scrolled past angry DMs, brutal comments, screenshots of leaked audio from the breakup night. Heard the full audio. Yikes. Manipulating for clout. Disappointing, Callista. Girl, how could you do this to Ethan? Her hands trembled. She dialed Celine. Pick up, pick up. Celine didn't answer. Celine was in her Soho apartment, pacing. Harper had left 3 days ago. The studio's Instagram page was flooded with comments after Harper's breakup post went viral. She was in love with Callista the whole time? Poor Harper. So toxic. Celine poured vodka into a glass, ignoring the PR emails, the unpaid invoices, the sponsorship contracts dissolving. She pulled up Callista's name on her phone, thumb hovering. Finally, she called. Celine, Callista hissed when she answered. Where have you been? I've been drowning, Cal. Celine's voice cracked. My life is falling apart. Yours? Yours? Callista shot back, voice rising. I'm getting death threats. I'm losing contracts. You told me to do the test, Celine. You wanted to do the test. Celine's voice sharpened. You just wanted to know if he'd beg. Callista went silent. Then, in a quieter voice, You love me, don't you? Celine's breath hitched. The line crackled. I always have. Callista hung up. The next day, paparazzi swarmed outside Aiden's building. They captured Callista outside the lobby, sunglasses on, hands shaking, voice breaking in front of cameras. I just want to talk to him, she pleaded. I just want to fix things. But the building security blocked her path. Upstairs, Bella watched the feed from the front desk, lips pressed into a tight line. Want me to call downstairs? She asked Aiden, standing behind him. He shook his head. She's not getting near Ethan. Inside his son's room, Aiden knelt on the floor, helping Ethan build a toy spaceship. Daddy, why are the people outside yelling? Aiden smoothed a hand over Ethan's hair, his throat tightening. They're just noisy, buddy. They'll go away. But in his chest, Aiden felt the churn of something raw, anger, betrayal, regret, resolve, all tangled. That evening, Bella entered the office with new updates. The videos are spreading. Audio from the night she staged the breakup. Texts you forwarded me. Marcus is working with a PR team. We're going to issue a public statement. Aiden looked up from his laptop. I don't want to smear her. Bella tilted her head. You don't have to. Just tell the truth. He paused, then gave a faint, tired smile. Write it. In Celine's apartment, the fallout hit hard. Harper's public breakup went viral, and fitness brands began pulling deals, citing misalignment with values. Celine tried to issue a statement, but it only fueled more backlash. She was obsessed with Callista. She pushed the breakup. She wrecked her own life. Celine crumbled into bed, alone. At the same time, Lysandra's fiancé left her. He called her from an event in London, voice cold and clipped. I saw the headlines, Lys. I saw the texts. We're done. Brielle's agent dropped her. She woke up to emails withdrawing offers, brands canceling campaigns. In one brutal week, the entire circle collapsed. The next night, Bella stood by Aiden in the kitchen, watching him load a dishwasher with sharp, precise movements. It's not just about her, Bella said softly. Aiden paused. No, he agreed. It's about all of them. He met her gaze. And it's about protecting Ethan. Bella gave a small nod. Then let's finish this. At midnight, Aiden's official statement went live. And it was careful, factual, restrained. While I have chosen to stay silent, recent public misinformation leaves me no choice but to clarify that my relationship ended due to personal boundaries being crossed in deeply manipulative ways. My priority is and will always remain the well-being of my child. I will not be engaging further. The internet shifted overnight. Respect. Aiden handled this with class. Meanwhile, Callista's on IG Live crying for donations. In a penthouse across the city, Callista sat with her knees pulled to her chest, watching her followers dwindle. The crying videos didn't work. The influencer confessions didn't work. She scrolled through old photos, dinners with Aiden, vacations with Ethan, champagne toasts with the queens. Her phone buzzed with one last message. From Aiden. 4 words. Do not contact me. She put the phone down, and for the first time in years, the apartment was silent. The next morning, Aiden stood at the window as the sun rose over Manhattan. Bella entered, holding a coffee. He took it, their fingers brushing faintly. Thanks, he murmured. She smiled. No matter what happens, she said softly, you're not standing in this alone. Aiden glanced at her, and for the first time in weeks, he believed it. Aiden Cole stood in the center of his penthouse living room, the city stretching out behind him in a wall of glass. The apartment was silent except for the faint hum of the refrigerator and the muted sounds of Ethan playing in his room. Aiden ran a hand through his hair, feeling the tight pull of tension across his shoulders. It had been days since the statement went public, and though the immediate media storm had quieted, the damage in the outer circles was just beginning. Callista's influencer empire was cracking at the seams, but the fallout had reached further than even Aiden expected. Across the city, Celine Moret sat curled on her studio couch, staring at her phone. Her hands were shaking. Harper, please, pick up. Please. The line went to voicemail. Again. Harper had left a blistering tweet the night before, simple and direct. Finding out your partner was in love with her best friend is next-level heartbreak. I'm done. Celine had tried to spin it, call it a misunderstanding, claim the media exaggerated things, but it was no use. The sponsorships were gone. Her wellness brand's Instagram was flooded with angry comments. Clients were canceling in droves. In desperation, Celine pulled up Callista's contact and typed a message. Callista, we need to talk. We're both sinking. Help me. But the words sat unsent. Lysandra Pierce was next to fall. At a charity gala, dressed in silver sequins and holding her fiancé's arm, she stepped onto the red carpet, flashing the familiar practiced smile, only to have him lean in, voice low but cutting. I saw everything, Lys. The texts, the planning, the breakup game. Her stomach flipped, You wanted to play with people's lives. Go play alone." Before she could speak, he turned, walked away, and left her under the glare of camera flashes. The next morning, gossip sites were ablaze. Lysandra Pierce dumped on the carpet. The Queen's curse continues. Brielle Kane felt the collapse in quieter, but no less brutal ways. Her casting agent emailed first, "We're letting you go from the upcoming project due to brand concerns." Then came the dropped endorsements. Then the lost roles. Brielle tried posting upbeat stories, pretending nothing was wrong, but the comments filled in anyway. "Heard you helped break up Aiden and Callista. Toxic friend alert." Within a week, Brielle was quietly out of work, her name fading from the very industry she'd clawed so hard to enter. At the center of it all, Callista Vrenna was unraveling in public. She went live on Instagram again, tearful, messy, her voice cracking. "You guys don't understand. I just wanted to know if he loved me. Is that such a crime?" But the sympathy was gone. Comments poured in. "You manipulated him. You used your followers. Leave Ethan out of this." Frustrated, Callista stormed to Aiden's building that afternoon, ignoring Bella's messages, ignoring the paparazzi flashing outside. She pushed her way to the lobby desk. "Tell him I need to see him." The doorman, professional and calm, didn't flinch. "Ms. Vrenna, you're not cleared for the building. Just 5 minutes, please." From the penthouse upstairs, Bella watched the security feed. "Do you want me to call down?" she asked quietly. Aiden stood near the window, watching Ethan play with toy cars across the rug. He shook his head. "No, she's not getting near him." The next morning, Aiden walked Ethan to his private school, hand in hand. The streets were calm, but when they turned the corner, Callista was there, surrounded by photographers. Aiden's stomach twisted. His grip on Ethan's hand tightened. "Aiden, please, just talk to me." The cameras surged. Aiden knelt by Ethan. "Look at me, bud. We're going to walk past, okay? Just hold my hand." "Daddy, why is everyone yelling?" "Ignore them, okay? We're almost there." He stood, squared his shoulders, and walked forward. Callista reached toward them. "Please, Aiden, don't do this." He turned sharply, shielding Ethan. "Stay away from my son." His voice was quiet but firm, and it cut through the noise like a blade. The photographers froze. Callista stepped back, face crumbling. "I didn't mean—" Aiden looked at her one last time. "You already did." He turned, walked Ethan through the school gates, and didn't look back. By nightfall, Bella sat at Aiden's kitchen counter, a cup of tea in her hands. "You okay?" she asked softly. Aiden sat across from her, elbows on the table, head bowed. "I didn't think it would get this ugly." "You're protecting him. That's not ugly." He glanced up at her, eyes tired but grateful. "Thank you, Bella, for everything." For a moment, there was nothing between them but quiet. Elsewhere, Celine lay on her bathroom floor, the tile cold against her cheek, sobbing into her arm. She'd lost Harper. She'd lost her career. And worst of all, she knew, deep down, that Callista was never hers to begin with. Lysandra sat alone in her apartment, scrolling through the articles that marked her as a social punchline. Brielle texted her agent, only to see the message read but never answered. The queens were crumbling. Across the city, Callista stood in front of a mirror, staring at her own reflection. She'd lost the followers, lost the deals, lost the man, and as she watched the last of the comments pour in, she realized she was alone. Not just publicly, but truly, completely, achingly alone. Back at home, Aiden stood at Ethan's doorway, watching his son sleep. His chest tightened. He had lost something, too, he knew. Not just a relationship, but an illusion. But when Bella appeared quietly beside him, offering a small, tired smile. He realized not everything was gone. Some things, maybe, were just beginning. Aidan Cole sat at the head of the long conference table in his private office, the early morning light casting sharp lines across his face. Marcus Hale, his longtime friend and legal advisor, slid a thick folder across the polished surface. "It's all here," Marcus said quietly. "Restraining orders, asset protections, a formal custody petition. Everything you asked for." Aidan stared at the folder for a long moment. His hands, usually steady in business negotiations, tightened slightly. This wasn't a merger. This wasn't a buyout or a hostile acquisition. This was his personal life, bleeding out into public view, and now it was time to end it. "File it," he said, voice low. "I'm done waiting." Marcus gave a single nod, his eyes softening for just a second before he stood to leave. Bella Sun appeared in the doorway the moment Marcus exited, tablet tucked under her arm. "The media statement draft is ready." She hesitated. "Do you want to review it?" Aidan exhaled, raking a hand through his hair. "No, just send it." Bella paused, watching him for a moment. She wanted to say something. Maybe that he didn't need to carry it all alone. Maybe that this wasn't who he was. But in the end, she only nodded and quietly left the room. Across Manhattan, Callista Vrenna was losing her grip. The night before, she'd gone live on social media again, glass of wine in hand, hair undone, voice shaking. "I loved him. I just wanted to know if he'd fight for me. Isn't that what love is?" But the comments were merciless. "You're only sorry you got caught. What about Ethan?" Manipulative to the end. Callista dropped the phone onto her bed, clutching her knees to her chest. Celine wasn't answering. Lysandra had gone silent after her fiancé ended things on the red carpet. Brielle's agent had officially dropped her. The queens were gone, and now Callista was just Callista, alone in a borrowed apartment, waiting for someone to tell her what to do next. That afternoon, Celine finally cracked. She posted an apology video, makeup smeared, voice raw. "I need to say this because it's time. I was in love with Callista. I crossed lines I shouldn't have. I hurt people. Harper, I'm sorry. To everyone, I'm sorry." The video exploded online, not with sympathy, but with harsh scrutiny. "Too little, too late. You wrecked everything and now you're crying?" Karma. Within hours, Celine's remaining sponsorships cut ties. Her studio posted a polite statement distancing itself from her personal actions. By nightfall, she was a trending topic, and not the kind she had ever wanted. Meanwhile, Aidan prepared for the final confrontation. Bella approached him that evening in the penthouse, holding a small stack of papers. "Custody hearing is set," she said gently. "They moved it up. Her lawyer is pulling out. She doesn't have anyone left, Aidan." For a long moment, Aidan said nothing. Then he rubbed his face with both hands, leaning back. "Thank you, Bella." Her eyes softened. "You've done the right thing." That night, at the gala event where Aidan was being honored for his company's philanthropic work in education, the air was thick with whispered speculation. Photographers lined the entrance, flashes popping as Aidan arrived with Bella by his side, not as a date, but as his executive partner, calm and professional. Inside, the room glittered, crystal chandeliers, black tie gowns, polished speeches, but beneath it all, there was a tension, a ripple of gossip, a buzz of expectation. And then, Callista arrived. She slipped in through a side entrance, hair sleek, makeup perfect, heels clicking across the marble. All eyes flicked toward her. Even after everything, she still knew how to draw a room. She made her way toward Aidan, weaving through the crowd with practiced grace. Bella saw her first and instinctively stepped forward, intercepting. "Callista," You need to leave, Bella said firmly. Callista's eyes glistened. I just need 2 minutes. Bella shook her head. No. Then Aiden turned. The room fell into a hush. Let her, Aiden murmured to Bella, then faced Callista fully. Callista's voice wavered as she stepped closer. Aiden, please. We were good once. I was scared. I ruined it, I know, but we can fix this. We can go back. Aiden's face was calm, his eyes steady. There's no going back, Callista. Her lips trembled. We were perfect. He shook his head, voice soft but final. We were a performance, and I'm done acting. Callista blinked hard, a single tear sliding down her cheek. Around them, no one spoke. No one moved. The photographers, the guests, the entire room seemed to hold its breath. Callista opened her mouth, then closed it again. For the first time, she had no script. Aiden turned away, gently resting a hand on Bella's back as they walked toward the stage. Behind them, Callista stood frozen, surrounded by cameras, blinking against the flashes, caught in the collapse of everything she'd built. That night, when Aiden returned home, the apartment was quiet. Ethan was asleep, curled under a blanket, one hand clutching a toy spaceship. Aiden stood in the doorway for a long moment, chest tight. He had won, legally, financially, socially. But the real victory, he realized, wasn't in the courtroom or on the headlines. It was here, in the quiet, in the small, intact world he'd protected. Bella joined him in the kitchen later, barefoot, hair pulled back, her usual professional polish softened by exhaustion. Long night, she said lightly, pouring herself a glass of water. Aiden offered the faintest smile. Yeah. They stood together for a moment, the hum of the fridge the only sound between them. Then Bella looked over, eyes gentle. You did the right thing, you know. Aiden's throat tightened. I know. For the first time, he let the weight of it settle. Not as a burden, but as a release. He had closed the chapter. And tomorrow, for the first time in a long time, he would wake up without wondering when it would all fall apart. The day after the gala, Aiden Cole stood at the window of his penthouse, coffee cooling in his hand as he watched the city wake. He wasn't thinking about business meetings or press coverage, or even the quiet murmur of his legal team wrapping up the custody filing. He was thinking about Ethan. Behind him, in the still dark apartment, the soft sounds of cartoons floated from Ethan's room, the muffled voice of a 6-year-old narrating spaceships and dinosaurs to himself. Aiden closed his eyes for a moment, feeling the tension in his chest loosen just slightly. He had fought through a war. But here, in this quiet, was the prize. Across the city, Callista Vrenna sat on the floor of a friend's borrowed apartment, scrolling through her now failing social media. The numbers were staggering. She had lost nearly 500,000 followers in 2 weeks. Sponsorship deals had been pulled, PR agencies had gone silent, and the only press left was the kind no one wanted. Scathing gossip columns, think pieces titled The Fall of a Queen, an online commentary that turned her life into a cautionary tale. She scrolled through comments with trembling fingers. You wanted fame, now you have it. So much for female empowerment when you're the manipulator. Hope you left Ethan out of this. Poor kid. She wanted to cry, but even her tears felt performative now. She had used vulnerability as a tool for so long, she no longer knew what was real. Her phone buzzed again, another news alert. This time, it wasn't about her. Aiden Cole awarded full custody. Sources say decision came easily given public evidence. Callista's breath caught. She set the phone down. It was over. Celine Moray fared no better. Her public apology video had backfired spectacularly. Fitness brands had terminated contracts overnight. Influencer collaborations disappeared. Harper, the woman she claimed to love but betrayed by emotional entanglement with Callista, was gone for good. Celine sat in her Soho apartment, blinds drawn, watching her bank app dwindle as penalties, lease fees, and contract terminations stacked up. She opened a bottle of wine at noon, then another at 4. By the end of the night, she sat on her bathroom floor, scrolling through old photos, smiling selfies with Callista, workout clips that once drew adoring comments. Now the comments were merciless. Obsessed much? Turns out she wanted more than friendship. Welcome to rock bottom. Celine dropped the phone onto the tile and pressed her forehead to her knees. Brielle Kane packed boxes in silence. Her apartment, once filled with designer gifts and sponsored products, now looked barren. Her agent had stopped responding. Her casting jobs were gone. She thought about reaching out to Callista, maybe even Lysandra, but the truth was, the friend circle was gone. Their empire had been built on shallow alliances, and under pressure, it crumbled fast. Brielle sat on the edge of her bed, staring at a single notification on her phone. Callista added to her story, but she didn't click it. For Aiden, the resolution came with no cameras, no announcement. The courtroom was half empty when the judge delivered the decision. Full custody awarded to Aiden Cole, citing Callista's repeated emotional manipulation, poor judgment, and public endangerment. Aiden didn't smile. He didn't gloat. He just let out a slow, steady breath. Beside him, Bella sat quietly, her presence a steady line through the storm. She reached out and touched his arm gently when the hearing ended. "You did it," she murmured. Aiden glanced over, something soft, almost like relief, flickering in his eyes. "No," he said quietly. "We did." Later that night, Aiden stood in Ethan's doorway, watching his son build a fort of blankets and pillows, giggling to himself. "Buddy," Aiden said, voice warm. "Time to wind down?" Ethan looked up, eyes bright. "Can you help me build the top part?" Aiden smiled faintly. "Yeah, I can." For the next 20 minutes, they built and rebuilt the fort, until Ethan finally yawned and curled up inside it, his laughter dissolving into quiet breath. Aiden sat on the floor, back against the wall, letting the silence settle. For the first time in months, he felt like he could breathe. Meanwhile, across the city, Callista tried one last move. She sent a letter, an actual paper letter, to Aiden's family home address. "Please, I need to explain. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. Tell Aiden to call me." The letter made it to Aiden's parents, who called him laughing. "Son, she's still trying," his father chuckled. "Always smelled fake to me." Aiden shook his head, half smiling. "Yeah, Dad. Me too." He blocked the number one last time. Days later, Aiden attended a small charity event, one he almost skipped, but Bella convinced him. "It's a good cause," she'd said softly. "And you need to be seen. On your own terms." They arrived quietly, no media announcement, no flashbulbs. Aiden kept his hand on Bella's back as they moved through the room, casual, professional, but for the first time, more. At the end of the night, they stood together near the edge of the crowd, sipping water, watching guests mingle. Bella nudged him lightly. "You okay?" Aiden exhaled. "I think so." He turned toward her, a flicker of something new in his eyes. Not romance, not yet, but trust. For Aiden, that was a beginning. Across the world of headlines and clicks, Callista's name began to fade. She posted vague, self-pitying stories about healing and growth, but fewer people watched. Lysandra disappeared from the social circuit. Brielle's projects dried up. Celine shut down her accounts entirely. For once, no one cared. Back at home, Aiden tucked Ethan into bed, brushing a hand over his son's hair. "Love you, buddy," he murmured.
"Love you, Dad,"
Ethan mumbled sleepily. Aiden stepped back, standing in the doorway for a long moment, watching the quiet rise and fall of his son's breath. This was what mattered, not the headlines, not the fights, not the public victory, just this. Bella joined him on the terrace later that night, coffee in hand. "Still awake?" she asked softly. "Couldn't sleep." She smiled slightly, standing beside him, looking out over the city. "You're allowed to rest now," she said gently. Aiden didn't answer right away. Then, finally, he let out a breath and nodded. "Yeah," he murmured. "I think I am." The spring sun hung low over Tribeca, casting soft amber light across the skyline as Aiden Cole stood at the edge of the schoolyard. His hands were tucked into the pockets of his tailored coat, and a faint, tired smile played at the corner of his mouth as he watched Ethan run across the grass, shrieking with laughter. Parents mingled around him, sipping coffee, chatting idly about summer plans and school events. Aiden nodded politely when someone greeted him, but his focus was locked on his son, the small, bright center of his world that had weathered the storm with quiet resilience. Ethan wore a paper crown, a crooked badge that read "Best Builder" from his kindergarten class's art project. His face lit up when he spotted Aiden watching, and he waved wildly, his tiny arm cutting through the sunlight. Aiden lifted a hand in return, heart pulling tight in his chest. It wasn't the victories in court, the headlines, or the financial protections that anchored him now. It was this, the small, intact moments. Bella's son stood off to the side, phone in hand, checking messages, but looking up every few minutes. She caught Aiden's eye, offering a faint smile, a quiet understanding passing between them. For months, she had been his shield, his strategist, his ally. Somewhere in that space, something warmer had taken root, but neither rushed to name it. After the event, as parents trickled out, Ethan ran to them, a burst of energy. "Did you see me, Dad? I made the tallest tower." Aiden crouched to his level, smiling. "I saw, buddy. You were amazing." Ethan turned to Bella, tugging at her sleeve. "Did you see?" Bella grinned, crouching too. "I did. That was one impressive tower, Engineer Cole." Ethan beamed, racing ahead toward the car. Aiden stood, glancing at Bella as they walked. "Thank you," he murmured. Bella gave him a puzzled look. "For what?" "For being here." That evening, the apartment was warm with the smells of takeout, laughter, and the soft hum of a cartoon movie playing in the background. Ethan curled up on the couch, half asleep, his head on a pillow. Aiden sat nearby, watching him, feeling the slow, unfamiliar sensation of peace settle across his chest. For months, he had braced for impact. Every call, every headline, every legal move. But now, at last, the noise had dulled. His phone buzzed quietly on the table, but he didn't reach for it. Across the city, Callista Vrenna posted a final Instagram story, an inspirational quote about letting go to move forward over a photo of a latte and an untouched croissant. The comments were sparse, a trickle compared to the flood she once commanded. Celine Murray's accounts had gone dark. Lysandra Pierce had retreated from public view, her family cutting off the financial pipeline. Brielle Kane's latest casting announcements had been replaced with silence. The queens, once the faces of Manhattan's glossy social scene, were now cautionary footnotes, names that sparked brief online shrugs before people moved on. Aiden walked onto the balcony that night, the city stretching vast and glittering before him. He leaned on the railing, feeling the cool bite of the metal beneath his hands, the hum of the world below, and for the first time, not the weight of it pressing down. Behind him, Bella stepped out, 2 mugs in hand. "Couldn't sleep?" she asked, offering him one. He accepted it with a quiet smile. "Didn't want to." They stood side by side, sipping in the stillness. No rush, no declarations, just the shared rhythm of 2 people who had weathered the same storm and come out standing. Inside, Ethan stirred in his sleep, a small sound of contentment slipping from his mouth. Aiden glanced back through the glass doors, heart tugging softly. "Everything's different now," he murmured. Bella followed his gaze. "Different good or different bad?" Aiden exhaled. "Different, better." Bella smiled faintly. "Good." They stood there a little longer, the night quiet around them. The next morning, as Ethan packed a small bag for a weekend trip upstate, just the 2 of them, Aiden felt a flicker of something light and unfamiliar. Anticipation. Not for deals, not for press, not even for strategy, just for time. Bella handed him a folder at the door. "Final paperwork. Callista's agreed to everything. It's over." Aiden looked at her, really looked, and for a moment, neither of them spoke. "Thank you," he said again, and this time it carried weight, layers of it. Bella only smiled. "Go. You have a weekend waiting." Driving upstate, with Ethan chattering in the back seat about dinosaurs and planets, Aiden realized he felt something he hadn't in years. Whole. Not perfect, not unscarred, but whole. Meanwhile, Callista sat in a rented apartment, scrolling through old photos she hadn't yet deleted, feeling the strange echo of a life that had slipped through her fingers. She posted another vague quote, shut off her phone, and stared at the ceiling. Celine, across town, lay in bed, blinds drawn, the weight of her choices folding in on her. Lysandra boarded a flight to Europe, her family having cut her off, her name a temporary stain on gossip pages. Brielle auditioned quietly in a midtown studio, no agent, no offers waiting. The empire they had built, brittle, glittering, hollow, was gone. On Sunday night, Aiden sat on the porch of a small cabin, Ethan asleep inside, the world hushed under the spread of stars. Bella had texted once, just to check in, and Aiden had replied with a simple line, "We're good here." He leaned back, the wood creaking softly beneath him, and let himself sit in the quiet. It wasn't triumph. It wasn't revenge. It was peace. Final line. Aiden's internal voice. Love that demands testing isn't love. It's control. And for the first time in my life, I've chosen something better. In the quiet after betrayal, there is a space most people don't talk about. It's not the chaos of the breakup, the arguments, the public fallout, or even the sting of reputation lost. It's not the headlines or the gossip or the way people whisper behind backs. It's the silence that comes later. When the dust has settled, when the noise has faded, when the world has turned its eyes elsewhere, and all that's left is a person, standing in the wreckage of what they thought was love. This is where the real reckoning begins. Because at the heart of every relationship that fractures under the weight of manipulation is a hard truth. Love that needs to be tested was never love at all. We live in a world hungry for performance. People curate their lives, their relationships, even their emotions, as if the way we love should come with proof, like followers, like numbers, like public declarations that can be measured, compared, and displayed. But real love is quiet. It doesn't ask for tests. It doesn't demand performances. It doesn't threaten to walk away just to see if someone will chase. There's a difference between love and control. Control demands. Love offers. Control traps. Love frees. Control watches you for failure. Love holds you when you do fail and says, I'm still here. At some point, each of us will face the aching truth of what we built. Was it something real, or was it something we were too afraid to leave, too desperate to hold, or too eager to win? And when it crumbles, if it crumbles, we are left with the most important work of all, to rebuild, not from the surface, but from the inside out. Healing after betrayal is not about proving the other person wrong. It's not about winning in the eyes of strangers or showing the world you're better off. It's about reclaiming the parts of yourself that were chipped away, your peace, your boundaries, your quiet strength. It's about realizing that sometimes walking away is not a failure. It's a victory of spirit. There is no triumph in staying in something that wounds you just because leaving scares you. There is no pride in enduring tests set by people who should have stood beside you without conditions. And there is no shame in saying, I choose to let go. Because sometimes the bravest thing we can do is walk away from the noise and back into the quiet of our own lives, where dignity, resilience, and integrity wait to meet us like old friends. In the end, what remains are the simple, unremarkable moments that are everything. The small laughter of a child, the steady presence of someone who stayed when the crowds left, the feeling of your own shoulders relaxing when you realize you no longer owe anyone a performance. And maybe, if we are lucky, we come to see that the life we build after loss, the one made not of spectacle but of substance, is the life that was waiting for us all along. To everyone watching, thank you for being here. If this story stirred something in you, whether it reminded you of your own strength, made you reflect on love, or simply moved you to think deeper about the relationships in your life, we invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. Your voice matters here, and your reflections help make this space one of shared wisdom and connection. If you haven't already, we'd love for you to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a story that speaks to the heart. Until next time, take care of yourself. And remember, the quiet after the storm is where your truest self is waiting.